Konnichiwa, Nihon Cricket Pod Yokoso. Welcome to the Japan Cricket Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Kerr, and with me as ever is Todd Luckhurst, all the way from Melbourne. How are you, Todd?
I'm good, Alan. How are you over there in Namibia? How's things going?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Pretty good. Improving after I was a little bit under the weather for the first sort of week and a half of the tour. But yeah, feeling a bit better now, thank you, after getting some antibiotics from the local chemist. That's picked me up. I guess we should begin this podcast with a quick apology. We've just realized as we came to record this pod that the last episode we recorded only went out on YouTube and for some reason hasn't gone out on all the usual platforms. So that will be going out today as we record, which is, what day is it today, Todd? It's Sunday, the 18th of January. So everyone will be listening to our stories of our journey to Namibia and the first warm-up game. So we'll pick up where we left off there and we'll cover the second warm-up game and we'll talk about the events of Japan against Sri Lanka, which happened yesterday. So why don't we start with the West Indies, Todd, shall we?
Yes, so Japan played a warm-up game against the West Indies. West Indies batted first, 346 for six. Let's have a look at the bowling. We had Kai Wolf, 2 for 36, Kaz, 1 for 80, Nikhil, 1 for 29, Nihar, 1 for 50, Hugo, none for 59, Gabby, 1 for 17, Wadagay, none for 24, Timothy Moore, none for 17, and Monty Harahins, none for 32. They're playing against a pretty good West Indies side, Alan. Jewel Andrews played for West Indies T20s and ODIs. They look like they could really hit the ball, some of these lads.
Yeah, and Kieran Pollard's son was opening the bowling. So yeah, there's a bit of pedigree there. I think it was a funny one actually. The first 30 overs we were really good. The energy in the field, which was something we talked about a lot after the Tanzania game. The energy was really good. The boys bowled pretty well, and we actually kept them pretty quiet. Like they didn't get away from us at all. I think I'm going off memory here. I reckon not at 30 overs, they were only about 140, 145 maybe at the 30 over mark. So we were relatively happy with where we were at that point. But they scored 200 off the last 20. So I think they scored 99 off overs 30 to 40 and then 101 or 100 off overs 40 to 50. So we fell away a little bit and they went big. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the highlights. I mean, they hit some big sixes in that final sort of stage. And again, there were a few drop catches. The guy, there was some 16, 17-year-old kid, I think, who came out and hit 120 off 60 balls.
Shema Apple.
Yeah, that's him, the apple, the big apple. He absolutely whacked it. But yeah, we dropped him first ball, and if we take that catch, then things probably look a little bit different. And these warm-up games are exactly that. They're there for us to get used to the conditions, get used to the power actually that these guys hit, and just sort of get our heads right and hopefully try and produce a little bit better in the field as much as anything else. So, we talked about that, but there were a lot of positives in the way that we went about that bowling innings, and I thought, particularly Nikhil Pol bowled really well. Nihar looked good. Um, Kai and Kaz were a lot tighter, that we weren't conceding the extras that we had done in the previous game. So, yeah, there were a lot of improvements there, which were really positive.
And then we'll have a quick look at the batting. So Japan chasing 347 for win. We got to 117 all out. We'll run through the scorecard. Nihar Palmer 5, Nikhil Pol 9, Taylor Moore 32, Hugo Kelly 2, Keisei Kabayashi Dockett 0, Kaz got a 0, Timothy Moore 4, Skylar Cook 3, Chahayas got 28, Gabby 15, and Ryuki got 0 not outs at the end. So looks like Taylor Ward batted quite well and Chahaya at the end too with Gabby.
Yeah, we talked about when we're playing against these full member countries who are just so much better resourced, they've got so much more depth than we have. The first thing we need to do is be hard to beat, and not make life easy. Unfortunately, we hadn't done that in the previous game. We'd kind of rolled over a little bit. And so there was a discussion around, just trying to dig in really and try to fight. And I think the boys really did that, particularly Taylor. He really, really dug in. He didn't play a lot of shots. I think he faced exactly 100 balls for his 30. But he batted well into I can't remember what over we were all out in. It was well into the 40th over, the 40s. So we put in a decent showing there, and probably the highlight of the whole warm up period was Chihaya Sakine coming in, and I mean it was absolutely brilliant. This guy bounced him quite early on in his innings, and he's gone after him, and he's got a bit of an edge over the keeper, um, and so the guy's gone right. Well, I'll go again, and so he's bounced him again, and Chihiya's just pulled him over mid wicket for six. So he's bounced him again, and then he's pulled him through mid wicket, just behind mid wicket for four the next ball. It's absolutely brilliant. To see a guy like Chihaya, who's probably not had the most confidence in his game. He's been on a bit of a journey over the last sort of 18 months. To see him come out and guys like our age, Toddy, I think just playing against the West Indies is quite a special thing, and seeing a guy in West Indies colours run in, bouncing a Japanese kid who's come through the program in Sana, and seeing him whack him over mid wicket for six was awesome. It was so good. And the boys were really up and about, and something like that just really changed the mood of the whole game. So that when the game ended, yeah, okay, we lost by 200 and whatever runs, 230 runs. But the feeling was really good because of the way Chihaya batted and the fact that Taylor had stuck it out as long as he had. So, the boys were in a much better place after that game than they were after the Tanzania game, despite it being a bigger defeat. There were, again, just a lot of positives to take and a lot of things for the coaches to focus in on going ahead into the World Cup proper.
I was took something out of the game, which is good. Good to hear that Taylor Ward, got batted for 100 balls, and like you said, trying to make it hard to play against and hard to beat is definitely part of the pathway and what you're trying to get. Create that culture where we're not going to be walkovers, or we're going to take pride and be really hard to beat. So yeah, pretty not a bad result in the end, I thought.
Yeah.
Like you said, teams like the West Indies, and they got resources, and probably 100 kids to pick from. So you're always going to come up against some proper players, and proper players who play ODIs and T20Is and all that. So great
Yeah,
experience for the boy.
it was funny. I was walking around the boundary and I bumped into their coach walking the other way. I had a bit of a chat with him, and he was, talking about the challenges that they have and the lack of resources they have. And I was like, mate, I reckon you're doing okay. Compared to what we've got, I think you're doing all right. Um, so he's a nice fellow actually, a guy called Rohan Nurse. It's his third World Cup with the team. So he's, again, just even that, just experience, is something that we don't have. So yeah, it was good. And for me, like I said, it was a pretty special day to be having Japan against the West Indies. Just a pretty cool thing to do. And then so after that, just to give you the other stuff that's been going on, we had the media day, and I'm sure you've seen what's been going on social media. Like Ben Ito Davis is doing a fantastic job. He's really embraced the social media role on this tour, and we went into the ICC, and we'd already seen some of the stuff that the ICC had been doing with some of the other teams, and Ben's like, "No, I don't like it. I want to do my own stuff." So, I think we mentioned the video of the bowling, which had Trent Bolt commenting on it on our last podcast, which was got over 1 million views. But then Ben was like, "Right, I don't want to do the silly dancing stuff in the corridors." He got the boys out with their bats, just hitting the ball to each other and then catching it in the helmet at the end. So that was all Benny's idea, and last time I checked, that had over 8 million views on Instagram. So that's pretty good stuff. And yeah, he's been keeping himself pretty busy. So if you're not already, then please do make sure you get onto our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. There's even TikTok. There's all sorts of stuff going up. So that's been pretty good fun, and I think it's adding a little bit of an extra dimension to the World Cup, which we didn't have last time around.
Yeah, Benny definitely doing a great job, and like Alan said, get on there, give a follow, and watch all the content coming through. Some very funny stuff and some little interviews I think with the boys, which was quite funny the other day. I
And,
saw.
and and more to come. Yeah.
Beautiful. We'll have a look at yesterday's game. So, first game of the tournament, official game. So, Japan played Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka batted first, got 387 for four. Um, Looking at the wickets there, Timmy Moore got 3 for 43 and was the only one who managed to take a wicket. There was one run out. So, I just want to touch on the batting there for the Sri Lanka players. Viran and Dimantha, they're serious players. Like, I watched them bat, and Viran was just taking everyone down. Like, pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about that. We were sitting there, and I mean, he looks like a very handy cricketer. He bowled, some pretty decent left arm spin as well in the second innings. So yeah, serious player. He didn't give a lot of chances. We missed a run out when he was maybe on about 50, which was, when you play these teams, and we have talked about it a little bit. you have to take every single chance that you get, because they'll punish you if you don't. And you don't get much bigger punishment than 192. And I think the other opener made 115, and we dropped him first ball. And you couldn't pick a better player for him to hit the ball to, very first ball of the game than Charlie Harry-Hines. And Charlie just said he didn't pick it up. It's there at point. I think first ball of the game, you're not necessarily expecting it, but it would have been pretty cool to have taken the wicket with the first ball of the tournament. It would have been a great way to start. But um, that's what happens. And they went on and put on 300 and something. And look, we can't hide from the fact that at 300 for none, it was pretty rough and it was not looking great. But again, real credit to the boys the way they fought back. Timmy Moore bowled beautifully. He just decided to try and hit the stumps. So it was pretty simple plan, and it worked. And he ended up with what I believe, in fact, I know, are the best figures by a Japanese bowler at a World Cup. So I think he took three for 42 from his 6 overs. At the last World Cup, no one took better than a twofer. So coming up against Sri Lanka, they are former champions both at this level and at senior men's level. So we all know about this, the cricketing pedigree Sri Lanka have. We're partners with them for that exact reason. The strength of school cricket in Sri Lanka is significant, and yeah, the depth that they have is incredible. So to go out and sort of keep them under 400 was I think in the end a decent result. Like obviously we'd have liked to have done more, and we did let down probably I think 5 or 6 chances went down in the end. Um, and again, if we take all of those catches, you never know what that score looks like. So again, it's further learning, but I thought the boys, they kept fighting, and that's the main thing they've been talking about, and not letting their heads drop and not throwing in the towel.
Yeah, I thought the boys looked a bit nervous, which is understandable. But I thought the last 15 overs, the boys pegged it back a little bit and bowled quite well. A few guys had a bowl. Timmy bowled well, and got it kind of back a little bit. The total looked like it could have been north of 400, and I thought the last 15 overs they did well to keep them to 387. So there was a positive there in the back end. But
Yeah, I think
we're
it's
here
it's good.
maybe
It's a
to
good.
talk.
It's a good point to bring up actually, because if we look at what we were just saying against the West Indies at 30 overs, they were 140 or something. At 30 overs here, these guys were 225, I think, something like that. So they were 80 runs ahead, and yet the scores have finished about 40 runs different. And the West Indies were hammering it all over the place at the end, the last sort of 10, 15 overs of their game. Whereas this time round, we did pull it back, and that fight was really important. And so I think that was, credit to the boys, because they kept plugging away, and yeah, like I said, didn't chuck it in. And I think that certainly led into the second innings, which is what we're really here to talk about, isn't it?
But so this is what we're all here. This is what we're here to talk about anyway. So Japan chasing the total of 387 for four. Japan got to 184 for eight off their 50 overs. We'll run through the scorecard. Nikhil Pollard 0, Nihar Palmer 23, Hugo Tani-Kelly 101 not out, Charlie Harrigan 0, Taylor Ward 18, Kase Kobayashi Doggett 0, Kaz 19, Timmy Moore 0, Shahaya 1, and Gabby Harrigan's 9 not out. But the day belonged to Hugo Kelly.
Yeah, Hugo was sublime. I mean, how much of the innings did you get to watch, Todd? It would have been relatively late into the evening where you are.
I watched till about the 30, oh no, till about the 35 over mark.
Yeah, okay. So again, under the pump when you lose a wicket second ball, um, and at that point, I mean, I was sat next to Duncan Harrison. We kind of looked at each other. We didn't even say anything. It was like, this is danger, because you've gone for 300 and something in the field, and suddenly you lose one of your openers second ball, and you're just like, oh, this could go bad. So huge credit to the way that Hugo and Nihar, I think, deserves a mention, because the way that he went about things was really really good. And they put on 50 something for the first wicket, and then suddenly we lost a couple of wickets in quick succession, and then we put on another 50 odd partnership with Hugo and Taylor, and then there was another wicket went down, and then I think Kaz put on another 50 partnerships. So we had three 50-run partnerships, which is something that we'd really talked about a lot. And when you look at it again, 6 years ago we played Sri Lanka in the World Cup, and then we were bowled out for 41. Um, and I think somebody pointed out that the highest score Japan under 19s had made against a full member prior to this was 130 against New Zealand in the World Cup qualifier couple of years ago. So we've gone past that significantly, 180. but the day very much belonged to Hugo Tani-Kelly. He's bowled 9 overs and he's been on the field for all bar two balls of the game. And I mean, Todd, if you can, you should go back and watch the final 15 overs because he was. I mean, it wasn't the most exciting cricket to watch in terms of sort of runs being scored because he was just cooked. He was absolutely out on his feet. He'd actually sent a message back when he was on about 35 saying that he wasn't feeling great and he was thinking about retiring. Needless to say, there was some messages sent back just telling him to dig deep and we sent some rehydration salts out for him, which I don't think he enjoyed much. He was like, that tastes horrible. Sent it back first time, I think it went back out again, saying you've got to drink this. Um, so that seemed to have an effect. But he definitely got after Kaz's dismissal, he went into a shell a little bit and the runs dried up. And there was a period there where he was kind of doing it in singles through the 90s, and we were very, very worried that he was just going to get stranded, be left stranded, or run out of time and player try to get there with a six and get caught for like 95 or something. And there was genuinely a lot of nerves, people being forced to sit back in the same seat where they'd been. And actually, I think the best thing that happened for him, and the guy who deserves a lot of credit, was actually Gabby Harriens, who could easily have been out second ball. Again, I don't know if you've seen it, but he goes out there and Gabby's got this saying that if long on's up, if mid on's up, it's Christmas. So second ball, he just whacks one straight back over long on's head, mid on's head, sorry. And yeah, the guy got got the t tips of his fingers to it. And I mean, if he'd been caught second ball playing that shot, he probably would have been, you know, having some words, let's just say. But he actually just brought energy and bustle, and he was, rotating the strike, and he was blocking out balls to make sure that Hugo was on strike at the start of the next over, and played a huge role in getting him there. So it was, we got there in the last over. He was on like 95, I think. Um, so he was on 96. So he got a two at the start of the over, and then they took a single to put him on to 99. He was down at the wrong end. And we're just like, oh no, he's going to get stranded at the wrong end because obviously they brought the field all in. So for Gabby, it was either go over the top or try and find a single somehow. So that's what he did. He managed to get one, just like chip one over the top so that they could run through for one, and they kept the field in. So that left Hugo with enough options, thankfully, to be able to squeeze one through for the final two runs he needed to go from 99 to 101. And it was really, really special. I mean, from my point of view, looking at the Japan Cricket sort of Association as a whole, it wasn't really something that I had on my bingo card was a guy making 100 against a full member. Like we may have kind of started thinking about that towards the end of the tournament, but to come out against a side of the caliber of Sri Lanka and score 101 not out off 160 balls, it was amazing. And we were talking about KPIs at the start of the tournament with the boys, and one of the conversations was around like with batting KPIs. What should we have? And I actually raised in the team meeting like how many people have scored half centuries for Japan, and it's quite a few hands go up. And I was like, well, let's add to that list. Let's try and get some more people with half centuries or hundreds, or let's just talk about that kind of stuff as something that maybe we can do. And now that Hugo's gone out and done it, it really sends a message to everyone else that they can do it too. Um, so it makes the rest of the tournament really exciting. I don't know what to really expect. We've got Australia next. It's obviously a huge game, but to come out and he hit one massive six, which went into the stands. Then he's hit, I think, six boundaries, and he's had to run a lot and really, really dig it out. So huge credit to the boy, and it's a landmark moment in Japan cricket for sure, and the response has been fantastic so far.
Yeah, getting a bit of media attention over here too. I see there's an article today, one of the papers, I'll send it through to you here in Australia, I think on the Gold Coast, saying, I'm not sure if it's true or not, that is it his first 100?
He has scored 100 in club cricket. I know that.
In club cricket. Okay.
But
Okay.
it's certainly his first
So,
100 for Japan. I mean, he's got a half century
yeah.
against India as well to add to his repertoire. So he obviously likes the big boys.
Yeah, well, we might get 100 against Australia next game. There you
That'd be
go.
good, wouldn't
But we talk about taking chances, and as the Sri Lankan Open's bats took their chance, Hugo took his chance because he nicked one between the keeper and first slip, probably in the third or fourth over. So,
it? Yeah.
you know, take your chances when you get them because you never know, you can go big.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's funny, right? Because I mean, Hugo, we mentioned that half century score against India. He was 15 when he got that half century against India, and he's now got 100 against Sri Lanka, age 17. But the kid's still got another cycle left. And it was funny on, the ICC are putting stuff up on their socials, and I just saw some comment underneath one of the ICC posts, obviously from a kid that Hugo goes to school with, and it just said, "By the way, I sit next to this guy in maths," and it just just really highlights how young these kids are. I just that really got me. It really made me laugh. Um, but actually, just to sort of to go back a little bit to the start of the day, it was the boys had been to the ground the day before to watch a bit of Australia against Ireland. I didn't go because I had work to do. Um, but for me, so arriving at the ground yesterday was first time I'd been there, and it really felt like for the first time we'd arrived at a World Cup. And that goes back to a bit of the nerves I think you were talking about. It felt very different to the warm-up games, different ground, different atmospheres, loads of people around, loads of media, quite a good crowd in. There was a lot of people there watching. And they stayed all the way through the game as well, which was really awesome. A whole load of kids there I think Sri Lanka had done their every team does a school clinic and they'd done theirs already. So there was this huge group of kids who were supporting Sri Lanka and just cheering for them all day long, which was awesome for Sri Lanka. Not so good for us. But yeah, it created this really good atmosphere, really good vibe around the place, and really contributed to what was a pretty good day. So I do think that probably impacted some of the early nerves. I mean, Hugo himself dropped one of the worst catches I've ever seen in the final over of the Sri Lanka innings, and perhaps that gave him a bit of motivation to step up and get going with the bat. But yeah, and going back to that media, I know we've actually had some requests from media in Australia as well to speak to him, and everyone was pretty excited. So hopefully there's a few more features coming out on that. But we do unfortunately have to turn our heads to the next game rather than sort of bathe in the glory of yesterday too much. I mean, I say bathe in the glory. We still lost by 200 runs, but uh, like we've spent the last 6 years talking about Neil Darte scoring a 50 in the last World Cup against Canada, which was awesome, and a really special day. And guys flagged that in the media day as motivation for them, seeing Japan players scoring runs at a World Cup. Well, hopefully this 100 by Hugo and the impact it has, particularly with social media the way it is now, really is something that kids in Japan and qualify for Japan get see as an inspiration because we can do it.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's very exciting for all those young kids, a bit younger than them. I mean, they're kids too. We forget sometimes how young these guys are. The under 19 boys are all, I think, all under 18. But it's the next wave after that. Be a bit of inspiration moving forward, which is great. So fantastic. Moving on to Tuesday, as you said, next game against Australia.
Yeah, so we're actually off on a safari tomorrow. Um, so I'm going to go and see some big cats, hopefully, see some animals. We just thought that we don't have a training session scheduled, and we're not allowed to put one in. So we thought we may as well do something with this day. And probably not perfect that it's a day for Australia, but in some regards, actually getting away from cricket for a day, and just switching off, relaxing, doing something completely different. Hopefully, it gives the boys a bit of a reset. And I think that we'll be able to, you know, go into that game. I know everyone's going to be excited. Obviously, a lot of our players live in Australia and have grown up there, so they'll be really, really motivated. And I think the fact it's the second game probably helps, hopefully, diminish some of that and take away the if that had been the first game, I can only imagine how sort of, the pent-up energy that might have been ready to explode and whether that would have been good or bad, I'm not sure. But I think going on the safari, hopefully the guys it won't be physically tiring, but it'll be tiring just because you're out in the fresh air all day. So I'm hoping that the boys are, you know, out in the sun, get home, knackered, sleep, and then wake up raring to go to take on the defending champions. Let's not forget.
Yeah, definitely. The Australian, very strong team. But yeah, good luck to the boys. I'm sure they'll go well again, and hopefully someone else can get a big score and take some wickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Toddy. I reckon we probably need to clock off, but I will try to get another podcast in probably between the maybe between the Ireland game and whatever comes next. At the end of the group stage, we'll sort of know where we're sat, and we'll try and have a catch up after that.
Beautiful.
Nice one. Minasan, お疲れ様でした. Speak to you next time.